Welcome to the AJ Brown Show, where we talk about all things investing, options trading, and the like. Now, here's your host, AJ, whose primary mission in life is to help you become a better investor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the AJ Brown Show. My name is Cyprian Francis, and with me, as always, the main man of the hour, AJ Brown. Good morning, AJ. Happy Friday. How are you feeling today?
I'm good. It's options expiration day, Sip, and so all my trades are coming through.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a fairly optimistic week. Not too many headlines hitting the news sphere to
Quiet.
drive optimism. There was some news out of Walmart yesterday, a few economic pieces, and we'll cover Walmart a little bit more in depth. But where do you want to start the week? Early on, I guess we did have some meetings, the FOMC meetings minutes. What'd you take out of that?
So I read those thoroughly, Sip. That was released on Wednesday afternoon. So, of course, Monday was President's Day, so that was off from trading. But then, it's been a quiet week, like you said. Wednesday afternoon, we got the FOMC meeting minutes. And for the most part, they said everything that you and I have been talking about on this show. But one thing that came out that I thought actually investors bid on, I noticed it as well, is they actually mentioned, and this is, the FOMC meeting minutes is what they talk about. So it's always released about 2 weeks after the last FOMC meeting. They totally were talking about stopping the quantitative tightening, mainly because of some of the tumultuousness going on, especially in this budgeting process. We're talking about a government shutdown again because the different sides in Congress can't agree on a budget. And, there's this whole discussion of raising the debt ceiling and all of this uncertainty. The Fed was discussing, maybe they should put an end to quantitative tightening in order to kind of stabilize the markets.
And did we get a reaction from that, or as we discussed, it was pretty much flatlined? Hey, this is new, but not enough to scare us away from where we've been, trending.
No, I noticed during professional hour of Wednesday's trading session that there was a pop up in prices. And I think it was totally on that news, right?
And so I guess the market heard the news and we continued to chug on. We did get some retail sales, which sometimes can move the market, but I feel like in January we're kind of not keeping an eye on the consumer in that way, coming off of Q4, and then some industrial production numbers. Anything there pique your interest?
Actually, and I apologize. That's some information from last week.
Mm.
What we got this week on Thursday was some not such good news from Walmart. So Thursday before the market opened, this was yesterday, Walmart came out and said, "Hey, sales are slowing," right? And investors picked up on that. Investors have been in this uncertain kind of state lately. They don't know whether to be buying or selling. So a lot of them have been sitting on their hands waiting for any sort of evidence as to whether they should be buying or selling. And with the Walmart news, man, there started to be some selling. There's actually some carryover selling today. Um, the selling that occurred not only on Walmart, but Costco, Amazon, pretty much the whole retail sector got hit pretty strongly by
And what's the reasoning behind that? Is that a little bit more simplified than just one name in the index? Is it because of the relatability of the consumer of Walmart being like, "Hey, this represents the majority of people across the country. There may be a trend here."
Well, and also, when high-end retailers start to see some faltering by the consumer, you see it usually balances out with Walmart seeing higher sales. Well, the mid-end and the high-end retailers have really been getting hit recently, but Walmart's been doing well. So now if you see Walmart hinting and announcing that things are slowing down, that, is some grim news for investors.
And is that your take from what you saw? Is that the consumer may, inflation, the price of goods, immigration policy, things like that? Is that having an effect? Is it trickling over? Is that why we're seeing Costco just kind of following what's happening with Walmart?
The scoop is sentiment is sentiment. Opinion is everything. So, when it comes to the markets, this is what I tell my program participants. It doesn't actually matter what's happening in real life. It's what people are perceiving. And it's like a huge psychology experiment in groupthink. And so if people start to think that things are on the rocks, then they're going to take it out on the stocks that they're invested in. So, our job at Trading Trainer is not necessarily to make sense of this kind of emotion, but to realize that this emotion drives the markets, and we need to know how to read the patterns and then how to, you know, use our different option strategies to profit from those patterns. So if the market's going to call a top, which it looks like after today, we're going to get a top called, well, then there you go. We're going to have a top, and that's how we're going to trade it.
Yeah, I did want to do some deep diving into the S&P of where we are because I am starting to see the headlines of all-time highs this week. And is that because of the quiet? Like when it's quiet and we don't have the stochastic noise, the market is continuing to creep up to those highs. And it seems like we hit these on a Friday and then we head into Sunday, Monday with some sort of new perspective. What are you seeing with these highs? Do we have the momentum to keep moving up?
I'm questioning that, Sip. So, we hit all-time highs on Wednesday. You can see that right here in my chart. But and we closed at a high. But man, we didn't get there very easily, right? We've been kind of in a stall pattern since, well, let me pull up some of my drawings. What I've been looking at, by the way, for those of you that are eyeing my chart right now, I've got the 3 and 5 day EMAs right here down in this lower chart. And I'm watching as the 3 is crossing down over the 5. This is what I use to confirm reversals. If this holds strong, it means that Wednesday's high close indeed would be a top reversal. So let me just rejigger my chart for a second. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off that confirmation indicator. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to overlay my drawing. So if I take a look at my drawing of trends, what you can see here is that we had an all-time high on Wednesday, an all-time high close on Wednesday, but we didn't really creep any higher. And since then, we've been pulling back. So with that confirmation, we may wind up calling this a top reversal. It looks like that's what's going to happen. So if we call this a top reversal, let's pull up my rulers here. That top reversal came just shy of our green zone on our rulers, which is the green zone would support there being higher highs and an uptrend. If we reverse here in the red zone, like it looks like we're going to do, that actually supports more sideways chop. And like I was mentioning earlier, this sideways chop, if I kind of pull my chart and go to a 6-month view, this sideways chop started right about here. The date of the bottom reversal was November 15. So ever since November 15, yeah, we've reached some new highs, but it hasn't been easy. It hasn't been like the highs that we were doing back in 2024. Since November 15 of 2024, we've kind of started to go in this sideways, almost like investors are, wondering what's going to happen next. So this uncertainty, well, it's causing, a lot of stocks to start moving sideways. It's causing people to start hedging. We're seeing a ton of money investing in gold, which is, the solid hedge. And now I'm going to switch one more chart over on you, Sip. I'm going to take a look at the VIX volatility index. The VIX is starting to creep a little bit higher as well. And so, it's not up to that mean around $19, but it's been slowly getting higher and higher. And so that's just showing that people are starting to hedge their bets. They're not as excited about upward moving markets as sideways moving markets, which is great because that's, a lot of the strategies that I teach are for trading sideways markets.
Yeah, and if you want to cut back to the S&P real quick,
Yep.
is there a logic or a theory behind how it seems like the ranges are getting smaller and smaller, right? Is at least like this latest pattern is just really starting to shrink. Is that anticipation for some sort of a breakout one way or another?
You absolutely nailed it. So this, especially this pattern that actually culminated on Friday of last week, was definitely what we call a consolidation or a converging pattern. And that's usually when there is a lot of which way should I go? Confusion, uncertainty, all those buzzwords is totally dictated. And it looks like we're kind of going in that way again. Now, I'll tell you, when we want to trade, breakouts, we actually look for that consolidation to be longer than a month, right? Because if you've got somebody sitting on their hands, if you've got a pool of investors sitting on their hands, wondering what comes next, and you leave them for over a month to kind of stew in their emotions, that's going to cause the real big tradable events, the real big breakouts up and down. That's when you'd start to think about straddles and strangles or actively catching those breakouts. Lately we we're just kind of being bounced around with news headlines. And so, you know, before you know it, a week has gone by and there's a whole new news headline distracting us. So we haven't seen that long term kind of, making investors stew, wondering what's coming next. But, it doesn't look good for up markets. And I've been saying that all through 2024. I've been saying that 2025 would probably be a lot of sideways chop, if not a little bit of a pullback, because we had such good gains in 2024 and 2023. You can't, that's not a normal. So, yeah, um, everything's playing out like we've said, and we've got the strategies to trade it. So we're actually in a happy place.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna bring up. Especially somebody that's been in finance for a while, but not utilized options. So, as much as I probably should. But when I look at a chart like this and you start to see, you're at these tops and you're kind of wavering, that's when options start to become very appealing for even just like newer investors, where it's like, I have a portfolio. These are a bunch of stocks that I like, that I want to continue to hold. But if we do get a pullback, which we probably will, I have this tool that I can go sell some options, collect a little bit of premium, earn back any of the pullback, and then in a couple months maybe you start to pull back up. So I've always appreciated that strategy that you teach in your program, right? Let me go ahead and pull that up. You can go ahead and set us up for the quick links. But I always love bringing that concept to newer investors and traders, especially my younger generation, where it's like, hey, do you have a brokerage account? Do you have stocks that you own? Are you using options as a premium tool to earn some of that dividend? And so I just threw the link to your quick links into the chat. So for anybody watching, listening for the first time, head on over to this register for a free workshop, and you'll get a breakdown of a lot of the things that we cover, a lot of what you go over on the show. AJ, I know your pick of the week this week is Walmart, so we'll dig into that a little bit more off of what we discussed. But for the moment, we're going to go ahead and take a break, and then we've got a pretty interesting segment coming up to get our newer viewers excited. And then, as always, folks, we are streaming live. So if there's a name that you want AJ to run through, or you have a question, feel free to throw it in the chat. We'll run through it if we have time. Otherwise, sit tight, folks. We'll be back in a jiffy to talk about what kind of accounts you need to have as you get older, right, AJ? As we get older.
Well, not even as you get older. I think everybody should have these 5 accounts. Let's talk about them.
All right. We'll be back in a jiffy, folks.
I get it. You're afraid of trading in the markets. Guess what? I've got your answer. I've got 4 strategies I'm going to give you, along with the tools to make it super easy. I'm going right home, giving you the webinar. I need you to sign up below and meet me in a few minutes.
So I actually got an email from Robinhood yesterday. We talk about Robinhood all the time, right? As one of the newer trading platforms that really took off with the meme stock craze, right? They sent me an email that said they're expanding into futures trading, and it had me thinking of, wow, this one brokerage account now offers all of these tools. And it's like, do I have the tools that I need? Right? And so before the show, you were like, hey, I've been talking to some people about what are the 5 accounts that every person who wants to be intelligent with their investments, with their money, what are the 5 accounts that they should have? So AJ, go ahead and cue us up and let's dig into it.
Well, and this may even expand to a bigger segment or some offline videos. But guys, before, the options trading and having a brokerage account is actually not the number one. I'm going to give you a list of 5 accounts that I think you need to have in the order that you need to have them. So number 1, SIP, I think you're going to need a high yield savings account. And so, shop around and find one. Rainy day account. You need to have liquid cash available should something happen. We're hearing about all sorts of people getting, laid off and things like that. So I think if you're in a good place, you need to start putting a portion of what you earn, whether it be from investments or what, into this rainy day account and have cash ready for, whatever happens.
And real quick on that, what would you consider a high yield? Like at what mark is it considered high yield versus normal yield?
I mean, I just got advertised from, of all places, Capital One, a high yield account that's paying 4.5.
Okay,
so
that would be definitely higher.
Yeah. So more than just a savings bank, a savings account at your local, bank branch. I'm talking about shop around. There's some banks like ING, some of these ones that give higher yield savings account, but something that is liquid. That's number one. So if you don't have that rainy day account, start filling that rainy day account. I want you to have that ready to go and liquid, and that's number one. Number two, I think that everybody has to start thinking about their Roths. Okay. Um, I don't care about your traditional IRAs or your 401ks. In fact, if you've got IRAs, traditional IRAs, 401ks, you need to start thinking about how, and you meet with your accountant, how to pay the taxes up front and get them into a Roth, right? I know if you're working, your 401k is going to stay with your employer, but if you get a chance and you change jobs, don't keep your 401k and roll it over. You want to start bringing it into a Roth, right? Because you do not want to get taxed on any money you make in this account. Tax deferred is, useless. You want to get taxed now and then have all that interest that you make, especially if you're going to do some of the strategies we have where we double our accounts, every year. You don't want to pay taxes on that. And that's the beauty of the Roth. So everybody needs to set up their Roth, and they need to figure out how to roll all their traditionals into that Roth. And, that's when you talk to your accountant about how much you do every year. But that Roth is critical. And nobody should just be, well, I'll pay my taxes later. And the other reason why you want a Roth is because you get the autonomous. You're not stuck to somebody else's picks. A Roth, you can invest in just about anything you want. So you want it to be in your own Roth. So that's account number two. Number three is where a lot of our folks are now. You need a bridge account, an account that goes between your bank accounts that you have for your liquid cash and your brokerage, your retail brokerage account, right? And that's where you're going to do all these different option strategies. You could do a lot of these option strategies in your Roth as well, but some of them, for good reason, you're not going to be allowed to do in your Roth. So you want your bridge account set up so that you can move money back and forth into your brokerage account. So you can do all of these amazing strategies that we talk about on this show. All right. Number four, you're going to want to have, if you have kids, you're going to want a 529 set up, and you're going to want to be funding that account. Because here's the best part, 529s are traditionally used when the kid is 18, and it's used for college or it's used for trade school. You can just about now, with all the addendums to what a 529 can be used for, you can use it for any after high school educations that the kid decides to go. But here's the best part. I don't remember if it's 30 or 35% of the 529. You can roll that over into a Roth IRA for the kid.
Hmm.
So check this out. If you wind up putting something like, I don't know, $30,000 into the 529 over the 18 years of your kid, right? 10% of it, approximately 10% of it, can be their Roth. If they have a $10,000 Roth at age 18, by the time that they're ready to retire, they're going to be over $10 million, So they're going to be set for life. So if you really want to do well by your child, set up a 529 and then roll whatever percentage it is into a Roth as soon as they're old enough, as well as, pay for their college or trade school or whatever they decide to do for their life. And then account number five, and this is especially, I went from, yeah, that's a cool thing to have, to, with this new administration in place, you need a crypto wallet.
Mm.
You need to have a crypto wallet, and I would stick with, you need to learn how to use it. You need to learn how to transfer money between your bank account and the crypto wallet. And, right now I would stick with the more tried and true coins, your Bitcoin, maybe some Ethereum. There's a couple of other names. I would stay away from like Melania coin or any of these, Haktua.
Fart coin? You're not a big fan of fart coin?
No, but I think crypto, especially with how invested the new administration is, they're gonna, it's here to stay. And so you need to have a crypto wallet. So those are the 5 accounts, and maybe we'll go into more depth than what we did on this show. But you guys, we talk about that number 3, that brokerage account that's bridged to your main account a lot on this show, but you need those other ones in place as well.
And I wouldn't be surprised if some of the available tools can combine these concepts into one account. I know, for example, Robinhood or even Thinkorswim, which is
Yep.
Charles Schwab,
Schwab.
does have the bridge where you can easily transfer money from your
Absolutely.
brokerage to your bank. And I do it all the time. It's pretty seamless. And even Robinhood has crypto. So yeah, I think now more than ever in the time lifespan of investing has it become easier than ever just to have everything, if not multiple options at your fingertips to be wise. But the 529, is it called? What was it?
529 is the account you can set up for your kid where you can put money in tax free and use that for trade school. But the cool thing is like I said, you can convert, I believe it's about a third of it into a Roth IRA for them. And let me tell you, if I had a $10,000 Roth IRA when I was 18, man, well, I mean, I'm doing well already, but I would have been set up. I'd be 100 millionaire by now.
Man, I'm so curious to see what Josephina's portfolio is gonna look like when she's 18. She's gonna be like, "Oh, my dad just took care of it."
Yeah. Well, sadly, her dad is very invested in her being able to take care of herself. So she's gonna have to learn some stuff when she gets older. But yeah, she's gonna be set up.
That's awesome. And hopefully, our fans and everyone tuning in follows the advice and gets their kids set up, because there is that value. But also, even the crypto is probably, if you haven't already had a crypto wallet, it's just useful. You never know what could happen. And it's just this tool that's available. So AJ, thank you for that breakdown of the 5 accounts. The only one I'm missing is one, having a kid to have the 554 or 529. But we'll see. We're working on that. But that was very informative. So if anyone has any questions on that, feel free to drop it in the chat or in the actual video feed. I think this might be an ongoing conversation, and I think you mentioned we might dig into it a little bit further as we move on. I hear these meme coins coming out like fart coin, and I'm like, who is buying this stuff? Like, who is buying this and driving it to a market cap? All right. So let's go ahead and take these learnings that we've accumulated through your 20 plus years of experience working with the trading trainer community every week, and find some opportunities to make some money. So this week, the big news yesterday was Walmart. So that's your pick of the week. What's the setup here? Was this something that you played into earnings, or are we now taking the earnings conversation out of the mix and now we're looking forward?
So here's my thought on Walmart. So Walmart is where people will, wind up going to get their staples. Walmart does well all the time. They've been around, they give dividends, they give earnings. This is some symbols that I want to have in my portfolio. So Walmart got kind of kicked in the teeth. I'm saying that I want to look for a bottom. So I don't want to do this, what I'm going to be talking about today, until I find a bottom. So I like my fast MACD indicators. I've been turned on lately again by the RSI. So whatever it is that you use to determine a bottom, and I want my bottom to happen above $85. So once I detect my bottom, and I want to be sure. So, what if you have some different ways of determining a bottom, and some of them, require more planets to be aligned? Use the more conservative approach. I really want to be sure about this bottom. But once I detect that bottom and it's above $85, and I don't care where, it could be 90, it could be 87.50. I want to do some buying. Now, I could buy Walmart stock itself, or there is a substitute option. If I come over here to my options lookup tool, I was looking up Walmart. And so, what I like to do when I'm looking for option substitutes is I like to go on, I like to look at all the strike prices, and I like to look at price components. It makes the job really easy. I go out at least about 8 months. So I'm looking at the September option expiration. And if I'm talking about buying the stock, I'm going to be looking in the call column. And I basically want to find that extrinsic value percentage to be about 5% or less. But I also want to look at the bid and the ask spread and make sure it's not too far apart. If it's not too far apart, it's not, if it is too far apart, it means that nobody's trading it. If you can imagine going into a marketplace and having nobody to buy or sell from, that's what that means. But what I found is the Walmart September $65 call. So if I don't want to be spending, the $97, $96 or whatever it is, this is currently, or as of the end of day yesterday, it's trading at $33. So it's about a third of the price. So either one, whether I buy Walmart stock and set myself up to collect those quarterly dividends, or whether I buy this substitute option at a little bit of discount, I want to get into that Walmart trade. And once I'm in it, I then want to look for opportunities to possibly sell premium. So if the price appreciates a little bit, finds a top, then I'm going to go ahead and put my collar on it. And I want to just milk this trade like you were discussing earlier with the option strategies. I want to just keep collecting those premiums, keep rolling out of those protective options, and really make Walmart my biatch.
Yeah, let's go ahead and make that happen. However, it is a little bit on the pricier side, right? At sitting at about 95 right now. So
It's
definitely
sitting
want to
at
make sure
95. Yeah.
definitely want to make sure you got the portfolio in there and you're utilizing your risk reward parameters, because it can move fast, and you definitely want to protect yourself. So if you haven't already learned how to do that, we've got some information in our wonderful webinar to go check out. So that's AJ's pick of the week. Walmart. Okay, let's dig into our speed round. We've got a couple names from around the country. Pretty interesting. Although before we dig into that, I did want to get your take on United Health. That was a big kicker in the news today, with the Justice Department coming in, and so this has been an interesting name with the murdering of their CEO and now this investigation taking place. It looks like healthcare might be in for a bit of some trouble here.
And I definitely want to throw this out there. First of all, I'm paranoid about the norovirus, which is going around, but I'm even more paranoid about this bird flu going around. And so, should we wind up in another pandemic in a few months, because it looks like the bird flu is jumping from, birds to cows and now to humans? the healthcare is going to get a jump start again, right? Everybody's going to throw their grievances to one side, and people are going to start thinking about healthcare again, like they did 5 years ago. It'll be like deja vu. But with that said, yeah, UNH is in trouble a little bit, and I think that I don't know how it's going to play out, but the fact that this Justice Department is, following UNH versus the previous one from a few months ago, tells you that UNH is doing some shenanigans. So, Walmart is my pick of the week because I think that you have an opportunity to get Walmart at a lower price because it kind of got kicked in the teeth temporarily. I wouldn't be looking to go long right now on United Health. If anything, yeah, but can I just point out, people are always talking about how insurance is, it's a necessary evil, but look at how much profit this company makes. $6.81 a share, $7.15 a share. They're giving $2.10 back to the investors. So, that's that's just interesting when I look at the business of insurance. It can be a real moneymaker so long as you don't have to pay out.
Yeah, and you don't piss off enough people to go and murder your CEO. I guess
And
that's
that
something you
guy
gotta look out for.
apparently has become kind of like a lot of people are placing him on a pedestal. I don't know if that you can see that our society is unraveling when that kind of stuff gets people excited. I don't see how that's possible.
It's funny that you say that because not too long ago I saw a mural of him being painted as like Jesus. I'm like, oh my God, like they're really, really putting him up there on that pedestal. So
Yeah.
United Health, we'll keep an eye on this one. This one definitely is well, they're in the news a lot, especially today with that investigation. So we'll see what happens. All right, we've got 3 other names from all around the country. Interested to hear your take on the first one. This is Kristen from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Interested in Harley Davidson, ticker symbol, if not one of the coolest, HOG, HOG.
All right. Well, Harley's, come upon some hard times recently. However, they are a profitable company. They've been around since Hammer was a hatchet. This last earnings, they didn't do so well, but the previous earnings, they did okay. They give a nice dividend back to its investors. They're at a good price. And I think I see what you're seeing, Kristen. You saw that there was a bottom. Maybe you got follow through a couple days ago, but you're unsure of that. Maybe it's looking to make a double bottom here. Like I said with Walmart, right now, if we're going to set up some sort of what I call an initial covering position, it's the position that allows us to then sell premium in the future. We want to make sure that the stock really is forming a bottom, or if we're shorting it, a top. So I see why you're a little bit hesitant. So yeah, I would look for some more confidence building indicators that you have found a bottom. But I've always been a fan of Harley, not just their product, but their stock as an investment. I've sold, covered positions against Harley many times over the last 20 years, 25 years. And so I think it's a good thing to have this stock. Plus, if you own the stock, you get the dividend. It's not a bad dividend. So yeah, let me just take a really quick look, Kristen, to see if there's any options substitutes. I'm going to use my options lookup tool. I'm just going to simply put in the ticker symbol. I'm going to go out as soon as the data loads. I'm going to go out about 8 months. Maybe I'm going to go out to the leap that's in January of 2026. And yeah, I see some, actually, both of these, but I'm really attracted. It's got a little bit more premium than I would have liked, but I'm actually attracted to this $18 call that expires next January 2026. So yeah, if you don't want to buy the stock for, $25, $26, and you'd rather have a substitute in place, this is going for about $9.75 an option. Just make sure, like Sip said earlier on Walmart, that you evaluate your risk so that you don't overextend yourself. But I could see using this as a option substitute.
Yeah, now that we're talking about Harley and motorcycles, are you aware of any electric motorcycles making any headway?
You know, I actually think Harley has one. I have my own little motorcycle, but it's 30 years old, and I love it. And it's a gas motorcycle, and so I haven't really been looking through the different magazines. I know that there was a couple of startups creating them, but I want to say that Harley has one, but I'm not sure that the Harley heads actually resonated with it. I think that it hasn't seen very good sales.
Now that we bring it up, I saw something this morning on Twitter that maybe the new revolution of motorbikes. But check this out, AJ. Look at this bad boy. Look at this thing.
Whoa. What? Oh, it's going left and right. Or what about a hover bike?
Well, it's got a ball motorcycle that operates more like a Segway, is what they're like. I
That
can see this hitting the road would be pretty cool.
I don't know what it reminds me of when I was a kid. We used to have like Mickey Mouse, and it was on a ball like that, and you'd bounce on it like this.
It looks so smooth.
Yeah.
So that just we're talking about motorcycles.
Yeah.
What did I saw something this morning about it. So thank you for that, Kristen. Hog Harley Davidson.
Nice.
Moving on to our second name, Luis from
Luis,
Memphis,
yeah.
Tennessee. Luis wants to know about Oscar Health, OSCR, probably getting hit off of that health news this morning would be my assumption.
Actually, it looks like it's doing quite well. And I actually like this a lot. Look at the price. That's a really nice price, right? It's down in the teens, so more people can afford it. It doesn't look like they seem to be doing well at creating a profit. So I'd have to look in. This is a new name for me. I'd have to look into what their claim to fame is. Maybe they're one of these alternative health companies. I'm not sure. But yeah, I see support at 13. I see resistance maybe up here around 17. I love that. And it's up at resistance right now. And I've seen how my fast MACD has been good until just recently at identifying tops and bottoms. It didn't do so well last week, or actually Tuesday of this week, at identifying the bottom. I'd have to figure out why it gapped up. But I'd probably, seeing as how it is nice and moving sideways, I'd look for an opportunity once it gets to its top again to short this guy, right? Go against the fray. That when you short it, it means that you're going to make money if it goes down in price. So I want to short it at as high a price I can. And I can either short the stock, which will require a margin account, or here we go again. This options lookup tool is like the most useful thing ever. I can find a substitute put option. Let's see if we can pull this up. There's Oscar Health. So yeah, I'm probably again interested in either the December. I'm going to look at the Leap. And now I'm looking in the put column. And I'm automatically really interested in this $30 put that expires next January. The bid-ask spread is only 30 cents. It's going for $14.85. That's a little bit cheaper. But the beautiful part about this is because you're buying a put as an option substitute to shorting the stock, you won't need a margin account. This would be classified as a cash trade. So I like that alternative to shorting the stock. So yeah, I wouldn't do it until I got that clear top being identified. I'd want to probably do that transaction when the underlying is above 16 bucks, but then I can see it dropping back down to 13. And instead of selling calls, you'd sell puts and you'd buy protective calls. And so you can do the same sort of premium selling transaction, but in this case, your initial covering position is betting against the stock instead of for the stock.
Yeah, I would definitely do some fundamental research, just because the health names can be so random with what they actually do as a
Yeah.
product or service. But health care seems to be like a hot topic. So thank you for that, Luis. All right, moving on to our third and final name, staying in that Midwest territory. Kenneth from Dallas, Texas wants to know your take on Petróleo Brasileiro. Ticker symbol
Brazil's petroleum company. Yeah.
PBR.
I have done PBR, like Pabst Blue Ribbon. I have done so well with this company over the last decade. This has been one of my, we measure one measurement of success on a premium trade is how long can you stay in the initial covering position? How many months can you sell premium against it before the initial covering position either gets exercised or gets stopped out? And this one was one of my records. I stayed in it for 15 months, every month selling premium. By the time 15 months had gone by, I actually had reduced my break-even price to negative. I had paid for the stock with all the premiums I collected. And so when I got exercised, I mean, I wound up really bringing home the bank on this. So I really like this one. I see what you're looking at. I just want to look at this little blue mark on my Thinkorswim chart. It says earnings are going to be announced February 26th. So that's next week after the market close. So keep that in mind. But yeah, this is poised for you to do exactly what we were talking about with Oscar Health. This is poised for you to either short the stock, or it's poised for you to buy a back month deep in the money put option. Using the options lookup tool, you can find that quite easily. So yeah, that's what I would do. I think that this is good. I would probably let February 26th come and go before I did any transactions, so I don't get any surprises based on earnings announcements. But other than that, yeah, I like the idea of shorting this and then selling put premium over and over and over again in the future months.
15 months. That's impressive. And I'd be curious what that return looks like, because that would be a great story to tell anybody that's looking to start getting into the premium selling. Like, look, you talk about monthly income. This is 15 months of monthly income.
On average, most of our positions, just not so I don't tell you about only the best, because that's like a once in a lifetime. On average, our positions last about 5 months, right? So this was a crazy outlier. And sometimes, they go as long as 8 or 9 months. And that's why we pick our option substitutes at least 8 months out. So sometimes they go 8 months, sometimes they only go 2 months, but on average, we expect our premium positions to last 5 months. For this thing to last, 15 months, it was mind blowing.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Thank you for that, Kenneth and AJ. I did come across another tweet to close the show out that I'd love some of your perspective on, AJ. This chart right here, basically stating that Berkshire Hathaway is holding over 20% of their assets in cash, the highest percentage on record. Does that kind of tie into your slowing down here at the top concept?
Absolutely. In fact, they used to be one of the biggest holders of Apple stock, and they have been liquidating their Apple holdings, which tells me that, they believe that a lot of the technology companies have topped. And yeah, they're holding on to cash, just like I was telling my program participants yesterday that there's two places you want to be if you're uncertain. You either want to be in all cash, or you want to have collars in place on all of your trades, because collars make it so that you have defined, win and loss. You don't have to be up, you don't have to catch any sort of movements or anything. Those collar positions self adjust. So whether you're in a collar on your main position, or whether you're in all cash, that's the safest place to be. Well, when you're dealing with a portfolio like Warren Buffett is, the collars are, you're not going to be able to do that. You've got too much. You'd be the only person buying and selling those collars. So it's good for the little guys like us, but for the big guys, they have to just go to all cash. So this is a clear sign that even the biggest investor in the world, Warren Buffett, is looking at this and being a little bit uncertain of what our future is.
Yeah, I'm always impressed with when people do the research of what these big investors are holding, and so it definitely gives you a sense of what the smartest investors are looking at, and kind of piggybacking on what we've been saying the past couple of weeks. But that doesn't mean that you can't take advantage of opportunities, and I'm sure Berkshire Hathaway and Warren Buffett is active in the options market because, they're very good at what they do. And that's a tool that's available. And that's what we cover on the show. I was just looking at the economic calendar for next week. It looks pretty light. So heading into next week, AJ, what are you keeping an eye on? What's on your radar?
Well, I'm excited for the close. I don't know if you remember, last week we put a vertical spread on Microsoft. That vertical spread looks to be ready to cash out. Let me just pull up that chart. I was looking at next week's economic calendar, but let me pull up Microsoft for you so you can see. We went ahead and wound up doing the 405-400 vertical spread, and you can see we're trading up here, even with today being a down day off of yesterday's highs. We're at 413.49, so I'm going to get exercised. I used a credit spread, so I'm going to go ahead and have all those options expire worthless and get all of my money, get to realize all of the money that I put into that trade. So I'm kind of stoked. So I'm going to be spending the weekend just kind of counting my winnings. But yeah, next week, it does look to be a little bit on the quiet side. Let's see. We've got consumer confidence. Towards the end of the week, we've got our GDP. Friday, we've got our personal income and outlays. That's the Fed's favorite, indicator of inflation. So we'll look at that. But otherwise, I'm just ready to see what the market throws at me next, what the news headlines throw at me next. We're back into that, where even on Saturday and Sunday, some news lines can hit that could change the market dynamics. So, we're into a mode, Sip, of, playing it day by day.
All right. Well, options expiration Friday are always great Fridays. So collect those winnings, turn the screens off, enjoy some family time, hit the screens back on Monday, look for some new opportunities. If you haven't joined the Trading Trader community yet, please do, because outside of the show, we have a group of geniuses and very engaged folks talking about opportunities, talking about, answering questions, ideas, ideating, coming up with plans, and utilizing these beautiful options tools that are available to all investors. Once again, the links to AJ's link to AJ's quick links is in the chat. So head on over there, show some love on the socials. If you have a chance, hit that like, hit that follow, hit that subscribe button.
Can we
Yeah,
ask everybody, Sip? Because I'm curious. What are we on? We're on episode like 172. Maybe folks can type into the comment section of where they're watching the show, whether they're watching it live or watching it on a replay, and tell us how we're doing. I'd love to read your comments and know how we can improve, or if there's anything we're hitting spot on, because, you know, we've been doing this almost for 3 years now, or over 3 years now, and I'm curious, Sip, can we ask them to do that?
guess we certainly can. So you heard it there, folks. If you got some feedback for us, throw it in the chat. And we've got some guests coming up on the next couple of shows that we're pretty
I'm
excited
stoked.
about.
I'm
So,
especially stoked for next week.
so that's what we're doing on our end, is we're trying to get some new minds, some new products, ways to look at the market, ways to invest, some different perspectives onto the show. So keep a lookout on that. If you hit the subscribe and follow button, you should be looped in on those upcoming shows. Otherwise, you can definitely catch us every Friday on the stream. Maybe we could also ask the folks to start to bring some more questions, because I know you and I are going back and forth with stuff, but we're doing it for the folks at home. So those questions earlier on the show than we can answer is great. I know I did see one that said what wallet we would use. I don't know if I have a good answer to that.
I set mine up with Coinbase. I don't know.
I have a Coinbase, I have a crypto.com, I have a Robinhood. All of those seem to be pretty efficient. Well, thanks, Steven. Steven gave us some love and appreciates the hour we put in every Friday. So thank you for that, Steve. We appreciate you hopping on. We'll keep an eye out on the comments. We'll check back next week. Otherwise, AJ, that does it for us. Any exciting weekend plans on your front?
We're finally getting a warm up here, so my weekend plans is maybe to get some sun rays.
That's a great plan, because I'm actually wearing shorts right now because it's 70 degrees all week and it's beautiful. And
are you guys drying out?
Yeah.
Okay.
This week we pretty much, there haven't been any. I mean, it's so crazy how it's fire one day, rain the other day, and then absolute beauty for like 10 days straight. It's just like the new norm. So we're both getting some exercise and some sun this weekend, and then we're hitting the screens on Monday to get back into the investment mode. So thank you, AJ, for your time today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We truly do appreciate it. Please show some love. Hit that like, hit that follow, hit that subscribe button. If you have any questions, reach out to support, leave something in the comments, send us a DM, and someone will get back to you. Otherwise, stay safe, folks. We'll catch you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning into the AJ Brown Show. If you're interested in learning more about AJ and his investing techniques, head on over to tradingtrainer.com and create your free account today. And if you're not already a subscriber to the show, hit that subscribe button and we'll get you